We're here with the team from SE Steel Fabrication. This is the Steel Construction Journal online where we chat to our members and just share information with the broader built environment about what's happening. So, John, can you give us a little bit of an introduction? Tell our viewers who you are and what your role in SE Steel Fabrication is.
Absolutely. Thanks, Denise. I'm the CEO of SE Steel Fabrication. I became the CEO about 7 to 8 years ago. I actually was brought up in the business. It was initially a family business started by our chairman, David SE. Once I had finished my studies, I'm an accountant by profession. I was overseas. I came back to South Africa for a few years, and I was presented with the opportunity to join SE Steel, and I grabbed it with both hands. I love being an entrepreneur, and the steel industry just has a certain attraction to some people. And I'm clearly one of them.
Despite all of its challenges, you have to be a hardy person to succeed in this industry. So congratulations on that. Christo, is it? Yes. Sorry, my sound is very patchy here. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, Denise. I'm the operations director at SE Steel Fabrication. Well, I started here 21 years ago. Also, I've been involved with the steel industry basically my whole life. Started off the sites with my father. He was a steel erector for SE Steel Fabrication, and while I was still busy with my studies, I got involved with some vacation work at SE Steel Fabrication, and from there, David SE, the chairman and the company, asked me if I wanted to get involved, and they started from there.
Super. So, John, can you tell us a little bit more about how the company started and how it's evolved over the years?
Certainly, Denise, it's our 40th year in business, which we're very proud of. The business was started in the early 1980s, officially 1981. At that point in time, our chairman, David, he's a civil engineer. He was actually in the building industry. And there was a project in Hoopstad that they were busy with, and the steelwork that arrived at site was not up to spec. It did not fit. So really what David decided to do was he actually brought all the steel onto site, new steelwork onto site, and fabricated really on site, and that's how the business started, and it just started growing from there. And he had more and more clients interested in him supplying them fabricated steelwork and erecting it. And but initially, that's really how the business started. The business started actually with doing silos and gantries, and it grew from there. We started with a small site initially, where we're currently located. It was about 1,500, 2,000 squares. And as the years have gone by, we've really added to it and grown our square under roof.
How would you say in the last little while things have really changed for the business? I mean, I know that we've had some challenges with the economy, and then obviously with the pandemic. How's your business shifted in the last couple of years with the challenges that the industry's been experiencing?
There's been a number of challenges that, I don't necessarily think it's just the economy. I think there's a number of factors. Number one, the economy being first and foremost, and also the way we deal with our clients has also changed, and the type of work that fabricators need to do has also changed. And it's really, I think it's evolved over the years. So there have been big challenges, particularly with COVID over the past 12 to 18 months, which really threw quite a big spanner in the works. With our mining industry over the past few years, almost going into a bit of a slump, that type of work has also slowed down, but we do see a pickup happening in that, and we do see a pickup happening in the economy. So I think going forward, there's actually going to be far more diverse projects on the go than we're currently seeing. And I think that a big part of that may be attributable to the fact that we anticipate a large amount of public sector spend to come through. So we at the moment are looking at private sector, the public sector, as well as work on the continent, which we think would pose a great opportunity for fabricators going forward.
Good. So, John, can you tell us a little bit more about your team at SE Steel Fabrication, their experience, their strengths? What makes the team work so well?
We've got a very diverse team, and I think that's one of our greatest strengths in age as well as in experience. Our workshop is led by a very competent workshop manager as well as our factory foreman, and they've created a solid team around them. And it's really more it's really not really individuals that make the team. I think it's the group effort that we get out of our people. Our people are our biggest assets in the firm, and we've got employees that have been with us from 6 months to over 20, 30 years. Currently, at the moment, 60 to 70% of our employees have been an employee of SE Steel for longer than 10 years. So I think what that does is it adds a factor of a knowledge, in-depth knowledge, and also knowing what's required in the factory from senior management. And that to me is one of our biggest strengths.
What do you think makes SE Steel Fabrication such a successful company? You've touched on your team and how it works so seamlessly together. But other than the skills within the team, what would you say really positions you as a strong player in the market?
I think our clients know us as being having the attributes of honesty and integrity. And in this industry, that's very important. You need to build a trust relationship with your clients, and you need to be honest with them. You did touch on it earlier, what has changed over the past few years. One of the things that has changed is the pressure that steel fabricators often are placed under to deliver on time. Clearly, as you know, structural steel is one of the first elements that go into a project. So the focus right at the beginning is on the structural steel work, and the programming around that has to be spot on. And immediately, if any problems are experienced, or we anticipate any problems being experienced, we communicate openly and honestly with our clients in terms of potential bottlenecks that may be there. Our clients do appreciate that, and we take the approach of working as a team with the professionals and our clients to come up with solutions that they require at that particular point in time. And that to me is one of our strongest attributes in terms of having a good reputation in the market with our clients, is effective, honest and open communication.
Excellent. Is there anything you want to add to that, Christo?
No, I'm good, Denise. It's like John said, it's a commitment to the programs and the requirements that the client's got, and it's the hard work and the effort that it's got to be put in to achieve those milestone dates that the clients require, and the quality is extremely important. So time and quality.
Good. So have you noticed a shift in the last 3 years in the kinds of projects that you're undertaking? And if so, how have those projects changed from, say, the norm of the previous years?
I'm sure Christy will give his take on it. But from our point of view, the projects have become more diverse. So, because of, I suppose, the challenges that we do have in the economy, a lot of fabricators have obviously had to look at new markets and new potential revenue streams. So we've taken the approach that we will assess each project on a case-by-case basis, and that has led us to doing more diverse types of work as opposed to what people would normally expect in structural steel, as warehousing and shopping centers, which are still form and will continue to do a large part of our business. But particularly we've started looking at the African market, which is growing exponentially, and we believe that there's great opportunity for South African companies to get more and more involved on the continent, as well as a shift towards public sector work. With the condition of the infrastructure in the country at the moment, it presents a great opportunity for either public-private partnerships from the public sector and private sector to get involved with in a collaborative type of environment to get large-scale infrastructure projects off the ground. I also think going forward, government is going to need to look foreign as well as local investment into public sector projects to ensure that they delivered on time and on budget. So I think there's going to be a big emphasis on that going forward.
And in exploring more work on the rest of the African continent, what are some of the challenges that you as a fabricator are experiencing that you've kind of seen? What is that market like at the moment?
We are getting quite a few inquiries. We have developed a few clients of our own that we are currently servicing and intend to service in the future. It's not really challenging or different to what you do, but great cognizance has to be taken of your project planning and timelines, because obviously your timelines from when you get workshop drawings into the factory to the time that the steelwork gets on site is at times quite long. So that to us, or to me rather, would be one of the biggest challenges, is working out and doing your pre-planning in depth beforehand to ensure that the projects can be delivered on time. There's obviously logistical issues that need to be taken account of. There's your cross-border issues, particularly now with COVID. Getting fabricated steel work across the border takes longer than normal. And the compliance and regulatory environment adds an extra layer of administration that needs to be done. But as with everything, with experience, you become more and more familiar with it, and that's what we're finding at the moment.
What has really stood out for you, and what do you see as really shining examples of the work that SE Steel Fabrication does?
We've been fortunate enough to work on quite diverse projects. In my mind, there have been a few projects just really recently that have been really enjoyable to work on, and I would think have been feathers in our caps. We look at there's two projects really that stick out in my mind. Three. The one was Omnia. Omnia fertilizes the nitrophos plant. It was very technical industrial work. It was over a period, it spanned almost a year to 15 months. It was a very successful project, and it was a great client to work with. Another one was our first foray into Botswana, where we did a new lodge with very technical and architectural type steelwork. The logistics on that project in terms of getting steelwork into the Okavango Delta and erecting it on the site conditions was enjoyable to figure it out. It really was. It added another dimension to the skill set that we have. Recently, just also completed a DC for Toyota for Investec Properties, and that project went off very well. It was a big warehousing solution for the client, and it was actually an expansion to their existing facility, and that was really enjoyable to work with the professional team that was involved in that project, as well as the main contractor, Akani. It just came out well, and it's always good to have a happy client at the end of the day. Christy, what has stood out for you?
Yeah, the two main projects that stood out for me was it's the two complete opposites from each other. It was also the Toyota that was an absolute pleasure to fabricate and install on site. You know, it was a nice box. The fabrication were, if I can call it, relatively simple. It was quite a bit of repetition, which made it a pleasant pleasure to fabricate and install on site. The other one is the Camp Jar one that John also mentioned, the complete opposite. There really Tekla was stretched to the limits with the capabilities he's got to design and produce proper shop drawings to be able to work from in the factory. And even with all the advanced capabilities of Tekla, it was still a bit of old school that had to be applied to manufacture and set out and lay out all the really complicated and intricate components of the structure. And that was really a challenge, but it was a pleasure as well to just stretch yourself a bit again and just realize why you sometimes do steelwork is to push your limits, to explore new ways of doing things, and that was fun to do. It was hard, I'll admit it was very hard, but it was really fun to do at the end of the day.
We do have a philosophy in our business. The way that Christo and I run our business is we fundamentally believe that you need to have fun when you're at work, and if you aren't having fun, then what's the point? And by fun, I mean you need to enjoy what you're doing. You need to enjoy working with your clients, and you need to have a passion for the industry that you're in, which I believe that our staff does have, and we have a great positive environment amongst and attitude amongst ourselves and our employees that I think does reflect in the work that we carry out.
What changes do you anticipate in the next 3 to 5 years? I know, it's kind of it's difficult to say with things changing all the time in the environment, but what does your 3 to 5 year horizon look like for SE Steel, and what are you kind of excited about?
I think it would be really, as I mentioned before, exploring and breaking into new markets, and also hopefully we can see the back of COVID and the opening up of the economy. I do think that there's going to be a host of policy changes that are coming through from government, which should support and assist the construction sector. If that does happen, and if what government has been saying about infrastructure projects that are on the go and the type of infrastructure that needs to be done in South Africa, I think it may be a turning point for the construction sector in South Africa to push forward. We've managed to withstand the hardships of the past couple of years that have happened in our industry, and I think there's a turning point in sight. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and that's really what excites us. Is the construction sector has had a big dip with COVID, but it can only move up from here, particularly with the type of industries that we need for growth in South Africa to support our economy. The fundamental underpin of that would be structural steel, and hopefully, not hopefully, I believe the industry is well poised to take advantage of that. But the industry needs all stakeholders and role players to play their part, from the funders through to government, through to the private sector, through to the developers. And if that happens, I do think we may be entering into a really good growth phase for the industry as a whole.